Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a whole stack of information, just like you've given us, and really try to cut through the noise to get to what actually matters. Today, we're diving into something that affects millions of Americans. Yet, its early signs, they're often so subtle, they just kind of fade into the background. We're talking about diabetes. And we're going to challenge ourselves, see how fast we can pin down the key symptoms, and then really unpack why knowing them is such a potential game changer for your health. Before we jump right in, though, if you like getting these kinds of insights, a shortcut to being well informed, definitely check out mindexpansiondaily.com. It's a fantastic resource. And hey, while you're thinking about it, please hit that like and subscribe button for Mind Expansion Daily. Join our community. We tackle some really crucial wellness topics. Also, if you find this deep dive valuable, maybe this information really sparks something, you can support us by buying us a coffee. The link's right there in the description, makes it easy. We also really want to hear from you, so challenge yourself. Leave a comment below. Do you agree with our take? Disagree? Let us know and tell us where you're listening from. We're really trying to expand our reach worldwide. Okay, let's get into this. The numbers around undiagnosed diabetes, they're honestly staggering, and that's exactly why this deep dive feels so important right now. So my challenge today, kind of inspired by the material you shared, is this. I'm going to try and explain the main diabetes symptoms in just 60 seconds. No notes, just what I know. Then we'll see how I did, and my brilliant colleague here is going to help connect all the dots, add that, essential layer of insight.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, maybe even a bit alarming, is just how widespread this is. We're talking 37.3 million Americans. That's, what, 11.3% of the population? Yet so many remain undiagnosed, which really begs the question, why are these symptoms so often overlooked? And crucially, what are the real-world consequences of missing them? Because early detection, it's not just a nice to have, it's absolutely critical. It prevents severe complications. And just think, kidney failure hit 250,000 diabetics last year alone. So yeah, we're not just listing symptoms. We need to dig into why they matter and what happens when those cell signals get ignored.
All right, okay. Deep breath. Here we go, 60 seconds. Main diabetes symptoms off the top of my head. Timer starts now. Okay, first, excessive thirst. Like you're incredibly thirsty, drinking tons, but still feel parched. It feels like your body's just screaming for water, probably because sugar's messing things up. Second, frequent urination. Gotta go all the time, right? Day, night, it's your body trying to flush out extra sugar. So lots of bathroom trips. Third, fatigue. Just exhausted, like can't get out of bed tired. High blood sugar must just zap your energy, leaves you drained. Fourth, blurred vision. Things look fuzzy, like you suddenly need glasses or your prescription's off. I think high sugar messes with your eye lenses somehow, makes seeing clearly difficult. And fifth, slow healing wounds. Cuts, scrapes, they just take forever to heal. Your body's not fixing itself quickly. Maybe the sugar slows that whole process down. Timer's up. Okay. Wow, that was fast. I got 5. Thirst, urination, fatigue, blurred vision, slow healing. How did I do? Let's dive in and see why these matter.
That's actually a really solid start, especially under pressure like that. You definitely hit the main visible ones. Your instincts are pretty spot on for those 5. Now, the crucial part is understanding the nuance behind them, and then, yeah, maybe touching on a couple you didn't quite get to, but that list, it's the foundation for what can be life-saving early detection. If we zoom out a bit, the bigger picture is just huge. Spotting diabetes early can genuinely prevent these life-altering complications we mentioned. Think about this. In 2023, 1.2 million Americans were hospitalized for diabetes-related stuff, and a staggering 60% of those cases linked to a delayed diagnosis. So early detection isn't just finding a problem. It's about enabling treatments, right? Like metformin. Studies show it can cut complication risks by about 30%. But what's worrying is you've got 8.5 million Americans walking around right now with undiagnosed diabetes, often just because these early signs, they're so easily brushed off.
Yeah, that's what really struck me going through the materials. Just how sneaky these symptoms can be. It's not like, bam, you wake up with a terrible cold. You know it right away. No, the sources make it really clear diabetes symptoms are incredibly subtle. They just mimic everyday things, stress, being tired, maybe not sleeping well. It's easy to just shrug them off, think, oh, it's just life. One study you shared found, 70% of type 2 patients, they initially blamed their symptoms on lifestyle stuff. And that delayed diagnosis by 1 or even 2 years. That's a massive window where damage could be happening silently. And it's not just academic theory. I saw this post on X, Twitter, recently, had like 12,000 likes. Someone basically said, thought I was just tired, turned out it was diabetes, wish I'd known sooner. Really hits home, doesn't it?
It really does. And that brings us to a super important point. Why are they so tricky? Well, unlike something acute, diabetes symptoms tend to develop really gradually, almost imperceptibly sometimes. According to the Mayo Clinic, a lot of patients don't even notice anything significant until their blood sugar levels get pretty high, maybe over 200 milli-GDL. So that constant thirst you mentioned, or needing to pee all the time, a lot of people just think, oh, I must be dehydrated, or maybe I'm drinking too much water, especially if they're trying to be healthy or are active. And the severity varies too. It could be just a general slump, or it could be really significant fatigue, which about 30% of patients report. This overlap with just, normal daily stuff. That's exactly why education and awareness are so critical. We have to be better at connecting these dots.
Okay, so time for the full verdict then. Let's check my guesses against the consensus, from places like the CDC and Mayo Clinic. So, excessive thirst, that's polydipsia, right? Literally much thirst. Nailed it. High blood sugar pulls water from your cells, triggers that intense thirst, affects about 70% of patients.
Exactly. Spot on.
Then, frequent urination. Polyuria, got that one too. Kidneys working overtime to filter the glucose, affects maybe 65%, often messes with sleep.
Yep, that's correct. That constant need to go is a big flag.
Fatigue, confirmed as well. High glucose stops your body using energy properly, hits a huge number, like 80% of patients, leaves them feeling wiped out.
Right. It was one of the most commonly reported symptoms.
Blurred vision, accurate. That high sugar actually swells the eye lenses, causes that fuzziness, affects maybe 20–30% of undiagnosed cases.
Precisely. Like a camera lens going out of focus.
And slow healing wounds, right again. Poor glucose control really does slow down healing, affects about 25%, and ups the infection risk too.
You got it. That's a key sign the body isn't functioning optimally.
Okay, so those 5 were pretty solid, I think, especially for 60 seconds. But looking at the sources, I definitely missed a couple of important ones we should highlight for listeners. One is unexplained weight loss. That's particularly key in type 1 diabetes, maybe 15% of cases. The body starts breaking down muscle and fat because it can't use glucose.
That's a crucial distinction, yes, especially for type 1.
And the other is tingling or numbness, usually in hands or feet. That's nerve damage, right? Neuropathy. See that in maybe 20% of type 2 cases.
Yes, neuropathy, a very common complication, unfortunately.
So while my 5 covered the big ones for type 2 diabetes, which is like 90% of cases in the U.S., those extra 2 are definitely vital to know about.
Absolutely. And understanding those deeper mechanisms, that's what makes this knowledge truly powerful. Now let's pivot slightly and look at the serious cost of not acting on these symptoms. Because what's really at stake here isn't just feeling unwell. It's incredibly severe, often life-altering outcomes. Diabetes doesn't just affect blood sugar. It damages blood vessels everywhere. It doubles your risk of a heart attack. We saw 700,000 cases linked just last year. That shows how systemic it is.
Wow, doubles the risk. That's huge.
It is. And think about the kidneys. It affects 30% of patients. That leads to 50,000 new cases of kidney failure every single year. Yeah. And vision. Tragically, diabetic retinopathy blinds between 12,000 and 24,000 people annually. Just imagine that impact. Thousands losing their sight every year.
That's devastating.
It truly is. Then there's nerve damage, neuropathy, like you mentioned. That affects 50% of patients, causes chronic pain, numbness. And there's even a link, a worrying one, to cognitive decline, a 20% higher risk of dementia associated with diabetes. It's a whole cascade of potential challenges. Remember that other X-post? Diabetes took my vision, check your symptoms early. At 18,000 likes. It's a stark, powerful reminder from someone living it. And for certain groups, older adults, people with obesity, those with a family history, the outcomes could be about 30% worse. Just emphasizes the need for vigilance, especially if you're in those categories.
Right. So, okay, bringing it back to our listener, what does this all mean for you? Who really needs to be the most aware, the most vigilant? Well, diabetes can affect anyone, any age. But yeah, there are definitely groups where it's much more common. For instance, adults over 45, they make up about 70% of cases. So if you're in that age bracket, paying attention to these symptoms is even more critical.
Definitely a key demographic.
Then there's obesity, a huge factor. Individuals who are obese account for something like 80% of type 2 patients. That link is undeniable. Family history also bumps up your risk. If a parent or sibling has it, your risk goes up by about 40%.
Genetics certainly plays a role.
And unfortunately, there are disparities. Minority groups, specifically Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, face rates that are 1.5 to 2 times higher. That points to bigger systemic health issues, too.
Absolutely. Those disparities are really important to acknowledge.
But here's the encouraging part, the good news, right? Even if you are in a high-risk group, it's not inevitable. Lifestyle changes, things like diet, exercise studies show they can cut your risk by around 40%. That's significant.
That's incredibly hopeful news.
It means you actually have quite a bit of power to act. Taking those steps can make a real, tangible difference in protecting your health.
And that raises another important question, doesn't it? What are the broader implications here? Not just for one person, but for society as a whole. Because diabetes awareness, it isn't just about individual well-being. It genuinely saves lives, and it has massive societal and economic ripple effects. For example, one report noted that in 2024, early diagnosis actually cut hospitalizations in the U.S. by 20%. That saved an estimated $3 billion. That's not just healthcare dollars. It's productivity, quality of life.
$3 billion just from earlier diagnosis. Wow.
Exactly. And screening campaigns. They work. When they reach people, say 15 million people, testing rates go up by about 25%. Outreach matters, and we have to remember the global scale, too. The International Diabetes Federation says 537 million adults worldwide have diabetes. It caused 1.2 million deaths just last year. Here in the U.S., think about prediabetes. 1 in 3 adults has it, 1 in 3. But 80% of them don't even know it.
80% are undiagnosed prediabetics. That's enormous potential for prevention.
Precisely. Imagine the impact if we could catch those folks earlier. Prevent progression to full diabetes. Raising awareness, it's estimated, could prevent maybe 30% of complications down the line. That could save something like $50 billion by 2030. The potential is huge. This knowledge isn't just for you listening, it's for everyone. That X post calling for schools to teach diabetes science got 22,000 likes.
Yeah.
It just shows there's a real hunger for this information, for widespread education.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What have we learned? My little 1-minute challenge, even with its flaws, it did highlight 5 really key diabetes symptoms. That excessive thirst, frequent urination, fatigue, blurred vision, and slow healing wounds. And those cover a big chunk of type 2 cases, right? The most common form.
The vast majority, yes.
We also really dug into how subtle, how sneaky these symptoms can be, and the profound risks of ignoring them, and everything from kidney failure impacting so many to vision loss.
The stakes are incredibly high.
They really are. The importance of early detection, of awareness, you just can't overstate it. We really hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights, maybe empowers you to be more vigilant about your own health. Before you head off, please remember, for more great info like this, visit mindexpansiondaily.com. And if you found this valuable, please do like and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily. It really helps support our mission. Maybe even consider buying us a coffee. The link's right there in the description if you feel like it. And don't forget to talk back to us. Leave a comment, agree, disagree, share your thoughts, and definitely tell us where you're tuning in from. We love seeing our global community grow. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Diabetes is often called a silent threat. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other seemingly minor everyday symptoms might your body be trying to signal? Things you might be overlooking right now. Staying vigilant, staying informed, it's not just about managing one condition. It's really about proactively protecting your health, your future. Thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive.